Well, hello, welcome to my kitchen. Today it is all about key lime pie. It is hot and summer is finally here, and it is the perfect time of the year to make key lime pie. It's a family favorite of mine, and this recipe, I can say, will not be beat. It is absolutely delicious. Now I'm starting with a graham cracker crust, and I'm using a 10-inch pie plate. Now if you can't find a 10-inch, a 9-inch will do. The recipe might make a little bit more than what you need, but that's okay. A little more is never a bad thing. And I've added 1.5 cups of the graham cracker crumbs. I love this. And to my graham crackers, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of brown sugar. I like the brown sugar with the graham cracker because it just, I don't know, it just gives the crust a little extra something something, and it's just better than your granulated sugar. Now make sure that you get a nice firmly packed 1/2 cup, and that is going to go right on top. I'm just going to mix it up in my pie dish. Why would I want to make a mess in another dish and have to clean it up? You know, I do not like to do the dishes. Now I am just going to stir this up a little bit, make sure that it's nice and blended. And one of the things that makes this pie crust so good is I add 1/2 cup of chopped pecans. This is so good. I use this graham cracker crust for any recipe that calls for graham cracker crust. It just cannot be beat. If you don't have pecans, or maybe they're a little expensive where you are, walnuts works equally as well. Now I'm just kind of mixing this up a little bit, and I have 1/2 cup of melted butter. This is 1 stick of butter, and this happens to be salted butter. I like the little bit of saltiness. If you watch any of my videos, you know that I don't ever use anything but salted butter. And the salt just helps the sweet to be a little balanced out. And that is going to go right over the top. And before I mix this, I am going to start my oven and preheat it to 350 degrees. You know, there is no better tool in the kitchen than a pair of clean hands. So I don't know why I'm using that fork. I am just going to mix this up. Make sure that all of those graham cracker crumbs get nice and wet from the butter. Honestly, this pie crust is so good, I could eat it by itself. And I'm just going to take my hand and just make sure that there's no big lumps, and also make sure that whatever nuts that you use are finely chopped, because you're going to slice your pie and you don't want a whole pecan because it's going to make big chunks in your pie crust. So it just makes it easier to slice at the end. Well, this looks just right. And what I'm going to do is just start pressing the sides. Honey, hush, honey, shh, honey. We have a puppy. Sorry about that. She doesn't understand that I'm filming right now. Honey, are you going to be quiet while I film? My dad absolutely loves key lime pie. This is his favorite. And I wish that I was making this for him, but he lives overseas, and right now with all that's going on with COVID, it's made traveling very complicated. I miss him so much. My dad is just an amazing guy. I like to say that he is forever young. He has always been someone that just dives in head first. He was a great businessman, but he also had so many hobbies on the side. He was a scuba diver. He was a pilot. He loved to sail, hunt. Oh my gosh, honestly, the list is endless. I think my dad has done just about anything and everything. Look at this, perfect. Don't buy a store-bought crust. Make sure that you make your graham cracker crust. It makes all of the difference in the world. Let me wash my hands, and we're going to get started on our key limes. All right, this is ready to go in the oven. Now I am just sitting my pie dish on a cookie sheet because I feel like it's easier to get in and out of the oven, and I don't have to touch the sides of my pie dish and crumble some of my crust. I am going to part bake this, and I'm doing it before I make my filling, because what we're going to do is after I make the key lime filling, I'm going to pour it into the hot pie crust. This is going to help the pie set up a lot better, and so I want to make sure that it's good and hot. And I'm setting my timer for 10 minutes. That will be perfect. Now I'm going to move on to the key limes. When you're making a key lime pie, try your very best to find an actual key lime. There is a difference in the taste. These are a little tartar, and they have a little bit of a different flavor than your domestic limes. If you find a ripe key lime, the majority of the time, they're actually going to be yellow, and they are absolutely delicious. This is basically what you will find all over the world. If you travel, you won't see the kind of limes that we have at our grocery store. If you look for a lime, it will be this type of lime, and they are so good. Now, I wish that there was an easier way to get key lime juice. I've never seen it bottled, but even if I did, I don't think that I would buy it because fresh key limes just cannot be beat. So I am going to show you how I do it. If you come up with a better way, then hey, send it to me. I would love to see it. And unlike our domestic limes, key limes have seeds. Our domestic limes do not. So I use my press. I know it's awfully big for the key lime, but it works just fine. And I'm pressing this, and I am going to continue to do that until all of my limes are juiced. The key limes, I'll just show you real quick, usually come in a bag like this, and one bag makes about 3/4 of a cup normally. Now, like any citrus, you might get some more juice out of some than others, but this will traditionally make about 1 pie. So don't feel like you're gonna have a lot of limes left over. And if you do have some extra lime juice, then put it in the freezer and save it for the next time. It will be delicious. So I'll see you back here when all of this is done. Last one. Let's see. So all of those limes made close to 2/3 of a cup, and that will be just right for this pie. I saved back a couple of my limes because I am going to zest both of these and use them in my pie. Now I am starting with one of the most delicious ingredients on earth, sweetened condensed milk. Is there anything better than this stuff? Just, If I wasn't filming, I would lick that top. But I don't think you want to see me do that. This stuff is so good. I've got 2 cans, and this goes right into my mixing bowl. Make sure I get it all out. Next, I'm adding 4 egg yolks. If you're making a larger pie, which sometimes I do if I'm entertaining a large crowd and I want to make a large key lime pie, I'll make it in a springform pan. And when I do that, of course, I'll add more filling. So it's 2 egg yolks to 1 can of sweetened condensed milk. I'm just gonna separate these eggs. And to do that, you just crack the egg and then you toss the egg yolk from one eggshell to the other. And you let the egg white fall. And in it goes. And I'll save these egg whites for an omelet in the morning. I love egg whites. And in it goes. And if you have that little membrane in your egg yolk, it is really easy to take your eggshell and just chop it off. The little membrane has a tendency to get hard, and you want to make sure that your pie is nice and creamy and that there's not any weird stuff going on in there. So go, off it goes, and there is number 4. Set these aside and you grab a whisk. I'm gonna blend these right in. Oh, how I wish my dad was here to eat this. Dad, when you come over, this will be the first thing that I have for you when you get here. You just gotta get here. Now, I'm going to add my lime juice. And because of the seeds, I'm going to be extra careful and make sure that anything that might have come through those little holes on my press don't make it through to my pie. And I am going to pour in, I'm going to start with 1/2 cup. Some limes are tartar than others, and so I always start with a little and I can add more if I need it. Now we like a pretty tart pie. I want to know that it is key lime. So I don't just like a little flavoring. I want to taste that nice pop of lime. And I want to taste it to see if it needs any more. That's good, but you know what? I'm gonna add the rest of this. That whole bag of limes went in this pie, and this is gonna be perfect. Some people don't bake the key lime pies because the acid in the lime actually cooks the egg, but I like to cook it just a little bit. It sits up better. Sometimes if you don't bake it, then it has a tendency to be a little runny, and I don't want to go to all this trouble and have a runny pie on my hands. So let me taste that. That is perfect. Now, one more thing that I want to do is add a little bit of zest to this. And I'm also going to add it to the top of my pie once we've topped it with our whipped cream. And make sure that when you're zesting your lime that you only get the zest, that you don't get into the white part. Just one swipe, just one and done. Remember that, because if you get into the white, you're going to get a really bitter flavor. So all we want is zest in this. And there's just something, it's pretty when you bite into it and you have little flecks of zest in there. Oh, that smells so good. That's just right. Now see, this is already starting to thicken up because the acid in that lime is thickening it. All right, that's ready. Now my pie crust has been cooking for 10 minutes. So out it comes. And it's nice and hot. And I am going to immediately put this filling in my crust. We went on a family vacation recently, and we spent a week at the lake. And each family was required to provide dinner or cook dinner one evening. And I did fish tacos with all the trimmings, and I made the key lime pies for dessert. And I will tell you that those key lime pies got eaten like this. And my husband was quite disappointed that he only got to have one slice. So this is making up for that. I'm making him his own so that he can have every bit himself. Now I'm going to even this up. Just make sure that all of that is nice and even. And I'm going to do something else. Well, that is divine. I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to push down on this pie crust. Now, you don't have to do this. For me, it's just pretty. Just looks so pretty. Just to have that crumbly, homemade look. But look at this. Now, this is going back into the oven for another 10 minutes. That's going to ensure that those eggs set up. So back in it goes. And now I'm going to start on my topping. So let me get this cleaned up. That'll cook, and I'll see you back here in a bit. The pie is done. And let me show you. Get this out of the way. See, when I move it, the filling does not move at all. No movement whatsoever. Now, I want to let this cool completely before we put our topping on it. So this is just going to sit and cool. It'll take maybe about an hour. But in the meantime, I am going to make the delicious whipped cream that goes on the top. Now, I've added a half of a cup of powdered sugar. And to that, I'm adding a cup and a half of heavy whipping cream. And that is just going right on top of that sugar. Now, I could pull out my big mixer for this, but I just don't want to fool with it. So I've got my hand mixer, and I'm going to whip this at high speed until it's nice and stiff. So here we go. That looks perfect. You don't want to overmix your whipped cream, or you will end up with butter. I've done that before, and I just kept on going. Look at this. See how this is nice and creamy? And let me taste. There's nothing better than fresh whipped cream. Well, it's going to take some time for my pie to cool. So I am going to put this in the refrigerator, and I'll see you back when this cools down. Well, my pie is completely cooled, and I am ready to add the whipped cream. Look how thick and creamy this is. And it's going all over the top. Look at this. I might have to lick that bowl later. We wouldn't want anything to go to waste now, would we? And I'm going to bring this almost to the edge. I want just a little bit of the key lime filling to show through. I think it just looks pretty. I'm all about presentation. You know, you eat with your eyes first, your sense of smell second, and then last but not least, your taste. So if it doesn't look good, or if it doesn't smell good, your brain says it's not going to be good. So I want to make sure that we hit on all points. Just going to whip that around. Ooh. We've got a little thunderstorm going on here. We've had quite the weather here in Alabama. I'm sure y'all are hearing about it nationally. So many tornadoes, so many tragedies. Lord, protect us all, please. All right. So good. Now, I have saved my last key lime, and I took the one that was the greenest. As I told you before, the key limes turn yellow, but I want just a little bit of that green lime for the top. And I'm going to zest this right over the top. If you would like to make this pie ahead of time, many times I do. Don't make your whipped cream. Just freeze the pie itself and then make your whipped cream when you're ready to serve it. And voila, you have got a delicious key lime pie. I do that a lot when I'm entertaining or when I'm carrying it to someone's house. And I'll add the whipped cream last, and it just makes it a whole lot easier. That looks so good. Well, it looks good. It smells good. Now, let's see how it tastes. I'm just gonna cut a slice of this. My mouth is watering. Just a nice little taste. The first piece of pie seems to always be the hardest to get out, but let's see how this goes. Look at that. That is so pretty. Now I want to taste it. You know, I told you that I was making this for my husband and he could have the whole thing, but I think he would say it would be okay to share just a little. This is so good. You have got to try this recipe. Your family will thank you forever. Thank you so much for joining me today. I have had a great time as usual. You are a blessing to me, and I hope that this video is a blessing to you. Have a great day and enjoy whatever it is that you're doing. I myself am going to go enjoy my delicious piece of pie. See you next time.